Let me simply review this one item now. When you look at Nvidia last night, you'll see that Denmark is home to the first, sovereign AI. Given its connection to Novo Nordisk, I believe it to be significant. However, David is now heading to India. India, I'm not sure whether you're aware, but it's a significant milestone for CNBC India. I do, but there's a 3-day convention in India, which has 1.4 billion people. The stock is currently down. Ennui, what is that about? Ennui is geared toward the winners. We're about to get cut off here, because we haven't even discussed Verve Ennui yet, and we're about to receive an opening bell. These stories might be written by AI. We didn't get to AI, in Jensen today, who called upon AI. Hint for the quiz, I'm upset about the 10 o'clock show, not mine. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not following. Which of the big businesses mentioned AI and Jensen Huang this morning? Aside from Texas Instruments, in reference to their collaboration that boosts sales, in my opinion? Carl, I'm not sure. Can you guess? Coca-Cola. Really? You'll most likely hear about that on the 10 o'clock TU James Quizzy. Remember, they have a DTC plan, and they're attempting to figure it out. Your documents won't contain it. Like this is all take a look at the profits, that's all I'm trying to do. But China and India both had weaknesses. India's monsoon season did lower sales, and that's what's actually happening. Now we're discussing Coke. Yes, indeed. What then? Yes, we did post India. Oh, I see. However, Joe, you see, Joe has had the correct perspective. He has been really optimistic about the AI winners, but he hasn't been that optimistic about the semiconductor industry as a whole, correct? Additionally, this is a wonderful microcosm of the topic we just discussed. Everyone is aware of the huge winners in the semiconductor industry, but there are also a number of businesses that are simply not seeing any growth since the global economy is doing a little and that's what we got. As a result, Joe made a wise decision regarding Nvidia. He is probably looking out 5 years, but he isn't looking out 7 since it would be foolish to try to anticipate that. We discussed last night that the stock will eventually begin to discount, that since there is a lot of visibility for 25 and then 26 when the visibility starts to drop down. The momentum is G at the moment, The conference call also covered the topic of extending your cooperation with Nvidia, which is something you've been putting a lot of effort into. What does that mean specifically for ServiceNow in the future? How important is that collaboration with Nvidia to your company, may I ask? Indeed, it's an amazing collaboration, and we've been in close communication with Nvidia about expanding that relationship for a time now. The new collaboration we discussed involves using the Nvidia NIM agents template to co-develop native AI agents on the ServiceNow platform. And that's all about providing our clients with turnkey, unconventional AI agents. And the first use case we're starting with is security vulnerability. We're thrilled that our collaboration with Nvidia is only growing stronger. Well, Nvidia feels like one of the other pillars of our economy at the moment. Using a chart, Torsten logged out this morning and discussed how Nvidia's market capitalization surpasses the retirement savings of 5 of the 7 G7 nations. This tech name is over-indexed by all index funds. Can the bull market that is so dependent on Nvidia continue to exist? You see, if you look at the S&P as a whole, more than 70% of its equities are still in long-term uptrends. Nvidia has been a significant player in the market this year, but we also need to acknowledge that it has been moving sideways since July until this most recent breakout, which is really a slight one. Even if Nvidia was trading sideways, you could see that other parts of the market were doing well, and the market reached its highest point ever. However, I do believe it to be a predictor of technology and semiconductors. Since technology accounts for almost 30% of the S&P overall, its participation is crucial. We still enjoy technology. We updated our assessment of technology during the August dip, and I continue to believe that artificial intelligence remains the central theme of this bull market. I think you have to continue to assume that there is more to be done in the field of artificial intelligence if you think the bull market is still strong, which we do. Therefore, it probably needs to take part. However, take another look at the financials, which are at an all-time high. Additionally, industrials were doing better until today. despite the fiat GPUs. Naturally, he is referring to Taiwan Semiconductor. While experts at Citi are discussing how much tariffs will raise costs throughout the entire semiconductor supply chain, Mizuho wrote last week that a Trump victory would be detrimental for Taiwan Semiconductor. Most likely, the latter is more important than the former. I believe this mean reversion trade has a probability associated with it. Look, I believe Meta's foundations are sound. Is it truly the mag with the finest performance? I suppose it most likely is. Probably not with Nvidia, although I'm not sure. However, some of the other names are not covered by me. Nvidia is fairly reliable. However, except than that, you're correct. For example, with all of Apple's harsh remarks this week, there are still a lot of unanswered concerns. I believe that Apple is still experiencing anxiety as a result of the somber day and the previous remarks that somewhat countered some of the encouraging China sales statistics. Additionally, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang stated in a recent interview that he sees the company deploying 100 million AI agents in the future. The rivalry between Salesforce and Microsoft is currently being closely observed, particularly due to the vast amounts of enterprise data that both businesses own. Earlier this week, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella predicted that AI agents would eventually be just as commonplace as apps. Salesforce has already introduced its agents via the digital help platform called Agentforce. So, have we abandoned Intel? We shall see. On Thursday, they released their earnings. We'll see what they have to say, I suppose. However, it's obvious that Intel's core business is facing pressure. They are actually outsourcing more since they are losing market share and are currently unable to rely on their own manufacturing, which is having an effect on gross margins and other things. They therefore propose that they think their process roadmap is being fixed over time. It will make everything, amazing when they bring that volume back to the United States. We'll see, I suppose. It truly was a 2030 narrative, right? A few months ago, they were sort of laying out some goals for where they believe things could go in the future. Even if they are on course, there is still a long way to go before things start to get better. Furthermore, we are now unsure of whether or not they are genuinely getting better. I suppose you should buckle up for Thursday. At the very least, I'm sure it will be entertaining. Yes, Stacy, we won't be getting Nvidia for a while. However, I'm sure you hear this more than I do. Well, there's a small company over here that's developing a next-generation chip that's going to force Nvidia to the side or disintermediate in the long run. In other words, how long do you anticipate their dominance will last? After all, there's always someone waiting. You do realize that this market is huge. It is absurd to think that there won't be anyone else vying for a piece of that pie. They are, of course. So, over the course of 10 or 20 years, Nvidia has established a strong presence in silicon, hardware, software, systems, and ecosystem, correct? Additionally, they have installed those moats. In order to be material in that industry, you have to break through those moats, which is extremely tough to achieve. I'm not saying that people can't obtain small pieces. AMD and others are obviously gaining small pieces, particularly for a new business. It's difficult to compare the amount of money Nvidia must invest in these things to that of much smaller businesses. It's really, really difficult. Therefore, I'm not really concerned about a young upstart stealing a significant portion of Nvidia at this time.